Welcome back to the Vanessa G Fitcast. I'm Vanessa Pozos, and here with me is Omar Pozos, my husband and co-host, and all the things, really just everything in my life. He is my whole life.
I am. I was wondering where you were going with it, but I'm excited to be here. Excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, I'm a little cold still from our cold plunge. What you can't see if you're watching the video is that I still have a blanket wrapped around my lower body right now. If you've been listening for a while, you've probably heard us mention that we, last year, started to get really into a little bit more of recovery modalities, like sauna, cold plunge, red light therapy, things like that. But I'm gonna be honest, the last few months, we haven't been on a very specific regimen with it. It's been more of oh, today's really cold out. I don't feel like cold plunging.
And for context, we live in Tampa, Florida, right? So cold is 65 or 60.
No, those are, so we normally go in the mornings at 7 a.m. and a lot, when you get into January and February around here, you'll have mornings where it's 40s. And
it has been in the 40s, yeah.
It is an outdoor space, and especially if it's windy too, it really sucks going from 40 to 40, 45, 48 degree air with, the humidity, it feels colder in the air than it is. And then if there's a breeze hitting your face and then you're getting into a tub at 38, 40 degree water, it's definitely a mental challenge, which is part of the reason that we love doing it so much. But
I feel like one of those Vikings from back in the day when I'm in that cold water. I just feel so manly. I'm I do tough shit all the time.
Yeah, did you feel that way when I was in the tub and you were sitting there oh, I really don't want to do this today?
Well,
and I'm just get in.
I didn't sound like that. Second of all, it's cold. I mean, it's freaking 38 degrees.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys follow us on social media, sometimes I'll post Vanessa, but she'll be in there for what, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and no problem. She's a true Viking, or a true savage, I guess.
Yeah. But that's kind of where I'm at today. But what I wanted to talk about for this episode, don't have one specific outline or theme really prepared for this. It's more of, I went on my stories the other day, on my Instagram stories, and kind of talked about some of the things that I've been realizing myself within my own health and fitness journey lately. And I just shared a little bit about what's been on my mind and some aha moments, some realizations I've had from my own journey. And I got a lot of really good responses from it. You had clients that brought it up and were oh my gosh, I really resonate with this. And honestly, I share in my Instagram stories it's a diary sometimes, and it's almost what is that called? When when they're filming commercials and they show it to a small group of people as a test to see their reactions before they release the commercial.
I don't know. I mean,
just
I
was a marketing major in college, so Omar's looking at me like I'm crazy.
I don't know. But I was logistics, so I don't know.
But that's kind of also what I picture of sometimes when I'm sharing stuff on my stories is kind of let me share this concept, this idea that's in my head, and see if this hits, see if this resonates with people, and then if it does, then I can maybe use it as a podcast, maybe use it in other areas, maybe go deeper on it. And so that's what I'm getting at is it seems like what I had shared on Monday on my Instagram stories was one that hit for people. And so I figured it'd be a good podcast to dive a little bit deeper into.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you shared. What did the people ask you about, or what got the people going?
The people weren't asking. I just give them what they
think
what
they
I
want.
Want to give them. That's my Instagram stories. Is where what is it? Let the freak flag fly. Somebody
freak flag fly.
That was a social media guy said oh, Instagram stories. That's where you just let your freak flag fly. I'm I don't know if I have a freak flag, but
Vanessa's freak
whatever.
Flag
we're flying.
Consists of our dog sleeping in her bed and stories of that, or cold plunging, or just being crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, so kind of what I was sharing about was come Monday morning, I had a little bit of an aha moment within my own health and fitness journey. And so for context, so if if you're maybe new to us, maybe if you don't really know my story, I had dealt with some pretty severe hormonal dysfunction, some gut dysfunction, a lot of different things that were, just internally my health was in a bad spot to where my energy was terrible. I had gained a lot of weight. I just really felt really awful in my body for a period of time. And last year, 2023, I finally really resolved it all. I really got my hormones, my gut, my nervous system, my immune system, really got all the systems of my body into tip-top shape, really got everything really feeling good.
I feel like last year was your bounce back year when you really got all your ish together.
Yeah. And I don't even want to say bounce back. It was more just bounce forward, because I really am in a place better than I've ever been before. So it wasn't even like bouncing back to a place that I've once been. Like I've never experienced this feeling of health before, honestly. And so getting to this place where, I lost around 25 or so pounds. It's honestly hard to say how much weight on the scale I lost because I did lose a lot of like inflammation. Like there was a lot of water I didn't realize I was holding on to just from, my lymphatic system was not working great. So there was a lot of like, just a lot of static lymph, a lot of water, and of course, obviously some body fat. And so I did have quite a bit of like a physical transformation over the course of 2023 as well. But like the biggest wins being obviously just like the energy transformation, the mental clarity transformation, like
the brain fog in there.
Yes, like so many massive changes in how I just feel on a day-to-day basis, which was huge. So I wanted to provide that context to say that like towards the end of 2023, it really felt like I had climbed Mount Everest. It felt like I had like reached the peak of like this like goal that I had been fighting towards for like a solid 2 years. And you get to the end of a goal like that, you reach a goal like that, and it truly feels incredible. It feels phenomenal. And that feeling feels so good that, our brains, our funny little brains here, they want to just continue to have that feeling again and again. So where the aha moment that I had on Monday that I was sharing with my Instagram fam was that I realized that when I've completed that goal, I didn't really have a very solid goal in place for like what's next for me. I reached that goal and it was more of like, okay, cool. We've gotten to a good place, moving into 2024. I want to start to get some like athleticism back. I want to start to build a little bit of lean muscle, but like things just weren't very, very clear. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, those are some desires. Those are some wants. So, let's kind of start to walk out of some of the health protocols that I've been in. Let's start to, get our calories back up. Let's reverse diet here to kind of move out of this place of focusing on fat loss. Let's like really just kind of like do these things. So I was really focused on like the actions that I'm taking. And it wasn't very clear of like, why am I taking these actions? Like, what is the next goal I'm moving towards? And without giving my brain a very specific goal of like, hey, this is what we're moving towards. This is where we're going. I've realized that my brain started to revert back to like, hey, I really want to re-experience that incredible feeling of reaching that last goal. So why don't I start to like recreate the same circumstances that you were in that caused you to reach that last goal, which felt so good when we reached that goal? Like the brain is just like, hey, like that felt really good. Let's just do that again. So what did I see starting to happen? I started to self-sabotage.
I was just about to ask, is that kind of what you're, started experiencing a little bit of like, let me just revert back to that so I can come out of that again and feel that same like euphoric feeling kind of thing?
Yeah, well, it wasn't like this conscious thing of like, oh, let me just go back to this place or anything like that. It was truly just like, I think it was like subconscious and even like maybe unconscious mind of truly just like starting to cause these different little behavior changes that like didn't really feel very good. So it was like I found myself starting to really fall short on my normal movement. Like normally I don't have an issue with steps. I'm really good about like even on like the busiest of work days, I still take the dog for a little walk in the morning. I have a little walking pad at my desk that I'll use for like on internal team calls or like in between calls. And I'll always go for like a walk at the end of the day. Like I'm really good at like just having specific habits in place, like routines in place to where steps is normally not an issue for me. But I found myself last week, which was an abnormally busy week, an abnormally more stressful week. And I found myself, I was averaging like 4,000 or 5,000 steps a day, which was completely unusual for me. And then on top of that, I've been a little bit off my workout routine as well. So again, like the context I was giving before, I had had this like intention of like, well, I want to, gain some more muscle back. I want to gain some more athleticism back. So like, let's, get some new training programming in place. And I was, really excited about my training program, but yet the last few weeks have just not been on it. Like, I did decide to actually more cycle sync my training programming. So I intentionally did not work out the week of my period, but after that, I was expecting to be able to jump right back into my training program, it being my follicular phase. And I just felt like I was battling myself of like, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, I'm too stressed. There's like too many things going on. Like I just like kept putting it off. But because I didn't have a clear intention behind it, it wasn't coming from this place of like self-love of like, oh, it would look like for me to love myself right now to take a break from the gym because I am stressed in this other place. And that's actually what my body needs. No, it was coming more from a place of like, I can't focus on going to the work gym right now. I can't do this. I'll figure it out. I'll go tomorrow. And then the next day would come. Nope, can't do it now. I'll go tomorrow. And then it'd be like a few days would pass. And I'd be like, God, I'm the worst. I can't believe I still haven't gotten in a workout yet this week. This is terrible. I'm falling apart. Like that was
like self-loathing a little bit there.
Exactly. It was not an intentional take a break from working out because that's what my body needs. And that's how I'm showing myself love. It was from a place of like, I feel out of control.
Do you feel, and part of the things that I see, especially for women that are stuck in the same cycle of like, I do something and then I get, a little bit of result, self-sabotage, and I keep being stuck in the same cycle over and over. Obviously you mentioned, your movement got affected by it, and you're somebody that normally gets anywhere between like 8 to 10,000. Now you're at like 4 to 5,000 steps. Did you feel like that affected, I don't know, like the choices you made with nutrition or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like I've kind of only more so spoke to the movement side of things and how I felt like I was really off there. But the nutrition side of things, I also was just in this place of like, again, it was like I was in a period, I think, of a period of time, like with work and with our personal life, where things were just abnormally busy, abnormally a little bit more stressful.
Sure.
And so it's like I had reasons that were like, okay, it makes sense why I'm not putting as much effort and focus into this. But again, there was no intentionality behind me not putting as much effort and focus. It was just kind of like, all right, I'm just going to like eat intuitively here, but yet like I'm not actually being, like I'm not eating intuitively with like the nice intuitive practices I normally invoke. It was more of a place of, oh, like, let me just eat whatever sounds good, whatever I can get a hold of. I'm not really eating enough during the day. Finally, at the end of the night when I'm done work, I'm going to just like eat whatever sounds good and like probably eat more than normal. So then I go to bed with like a heavier stomach, and then I wake up the next morning not feeling as well. Like again, it was lacking intentionality across the board.
Yeah. When you say intentionality, what do you mean by that? Like, is it a structure? Like we're lacking structure, or we're lacking like not knowing what to do? What do you mean by intentionality?
So think of it this way, like your intentions behind everything you do is going to completely change the way you think about it, the way you feel about it. So
okay. What were your intentions last week?
Well, so like I'll give you an example here, just kind of help like further solidify this concept. So like let's say we left Zoe at home this morning while we went to, go do our cold plunge, our sauna, and then go to the chiropractor. So we were gone for, almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
What if we came back and we found that she had just like pooped all over the house, had torn up the pillows, had like just like
she would never. Vanessa.
But like if she had just like gone to the bathroom all over the floor, all over the house, and you came back and you saw this, what would you feel?
I'd be pissed.
Exactly. Yeah, you'd probably be like really pissed. You'd be like, what the heck, Zodog? Like, come on.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
I'm over there looking at her.
I know, she's so cute. But let's say same exact circumstance. We come back from, being out for 2 hours. We see that like the house is a mess because she's gone to the bathroom everywhere. And then you also see, like, you look at her and she clearly looks very sick. Mm-hmm. She clearly, something is off with her. Like, we need to get her to the vet. She's not feeling well. Now, how do you feel looking at, what's happened in the house?
Concerned. I don't know, alert. Like, I need to help her.
Yeah, exactly. So you're no longer pissed at her. You might, of course, be like, oh man, this sucks. Like, I hate that there's, I hate that there's poop all over the house. Yeah. But you would feel bad. You'd feel like, I want to take care of her. Like, I want to treat her well. I want to love on her right now. That's kind of like, that's an example to show that like the intention behind why she would have gone to the bathroom all over the house changes the way that, you being external, but like it changes the way that you feel about it, that changes the way that you react to it. It's like when I'm looking back at, let's say this past week, and if I had gone into last week being like, hey, this is going to be a busy week. I have a lot of calls on my calendar. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult for me to navigate time to go to the gym. I might experience more feelings of stress, which might make sense then for me to actually maybe take a step back from the gym, because I know personally my body doesn't, on a physiological level, doesn't always handle stress that well. I start to get inflamed. I don't recover from my workouts super well. So it's like I could have objectively just looked at all of that information and set the intention of, you know what? I'm not going to go to the gym this week. I'm actually just going to eat intuitively each day. And that's going to look like just, eating kind of the foods that I have available to me and focusing on, how I feel, like my hunger and fullness signals, and making eating decisions day by day of whatever feels like. And that could have been my intention going into the week, which then as the week went on, I wouldn't be having these thoughts like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst. I can't believe I still haven't gotten a workout in. I can't believe I'm still not hitting my nutrition targets. Like, can't believe I just ate whatever we had available yesterday, and that was not what I had, what I'm supposed to be doing on my plan right now. And like we just go down that spiral, and we like add pain on top of pain. We create a negative situation that doesn't have to be
pain
there.
Because you're already feeling, crappy or upset with yourself for not doing the thing. And then on top of that, you're now upset because you're not doing the thing and you're not feeling great, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. And it's very interesting that you point that out, because it's one little subtle thing that changed my whole perspective, even when it came to like Zoe's example, right? But like one aspect of it, like I'm angry, I'm mad, and I'm like, what the hell, And then when you mention like, oh, she's not looking super well, or maybe she's sick, my whole perspective changed. And instead of me just being upset, now I'm like asking questions like, well, what happened? Or, why did she do that? Which I think goes back to probably a lot of our listeners is, they have these weeks where they fall off plan, or they have a busy week, or they go to a restaurant and that doesn't fit the plan or whatever. And it's funny because the first thing that we ask sometimes people that we're chatting with, I'm like, hey, so, tell me, like, what do you think is your biggest struggle? And right off the bat, they'll say, I have no motivation, or I have no time, or I just can't stay on track. And so that's when I get curious. But again, it's a different perspective, right? From when you're in the situation as opposed to like a third party looking at it. And I'm like, okay, well, everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. It's not that you don't have time. It's just maybe that what we're doing isn't the most efficient, or maybe isn't the right thing for you. And that's where people are like, oh, like I never thought of it that way. Or, again, maybe I'm not seeing results because I'm pushing myself way too hard, where, I'm overstressing my body, or maybe it's not the right plan for you. So I love that shift, because instead of just us being upset, it almost provokes us to, not provokes us, but it helps us ask questions so that we can get a better answer and ultimately figure out the most efficient, but also the best plan or the best action for us. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it's just like a more empowering point of view to take on the situation.
I like that. That's a good point.
Because, and like, yes, you were saying of like, okay, we all have 24 hours in the day, but like also realistically, different people have different circumstances. Some people have less time than others. And it's like, we could get into a place where like, okay, so let me back up here. So like another reason that I was come Monday morning feeling like I had this aha moment was because Monday morning I felt really bad in my body. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I've gained like 5 pounds this past week. Like I look so much, like I'm like looking in the mirror, I'm feeling the way my clothes are fitting. I just like am feeling the feelings in my body. I'm like, I feel like I suddenly just gained a bunch of weight last week. This is terrible, because I'm, supposed to be kind of going through this like reverse diet process to like walk out of the protocols that I've been in to make sure that I am actually maintaining all the results I achieved last year. But here I am feeling like, oh my gosh, I must have gained so much weight last week because of the fact that I wasn't moving and I wasn't on top of my nutrition and all these things. And we all
very well know that 1 week isn't going to make or break us, right? Yes. But in that moment, you weren't thinking that way.
Well, that's the thing. Like, sure, I even as a coach, like I talk about this all the time with clients, but yet in that moment, when you are looking at yourself in the mirror and you're feeling the way your clothes are fitting and you're feeling the way your body feels, like your brain can play some tricks on you.
For sure.
And so on an objective level, part of the reason I was feeling that way is because like I had mentioned earlier, my body doesn't always handle stress super well. And so I came out of a week where we had some longer work days. I would say like my sleep that week wasn't the best because I also had some personal things going on. And then once we went into the weekend, because again, I was in this like place of guilt of like, oh my gosh, I haven't worked out at all this week. Saturday morning, I was like, I got to get a workout in. Went to the gym and I got a great lower body workout in, but literally the whole rest of the day and the following day, Sunday, I felt achy. I felt inflamed. Like I felt puffier and puffier. My digestion felt off. And so come Sunday morning, like I was like, my joints felt a little bit more achy and I just overall looked puffier. And then because I hadn't been feeling that great, like emotionally, I decided to, allow some of my emotions to take over and ate a little bit more of some treats than I would normally have. Like I'm the type of person, like I'm totally fine allowing myself to have a cookie and ice cream here and there. But when I have a couple cookies and ice cream, I don't feel so great afterwards. Yeah. And that's what happened over the weekend as this place of like allowing my emotions to drive my food decisions. And those emotions were ultimately coming from my thoughts about how the week went, which was due to my lack of intentionality. And so now I just like ended up in this cycle where I'm eating these foods, not even fully enjoying them because I already feel guilty about the fact that I'm eating them. And the next day I feel just like worse physically. So then Monday morning, that's where I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. So come Monday morning, I was just physically not feeling so great. Like I clearly had a lot of inflammation on my body. And so of course, like being in that moment, I was just way in my head and I was feeling like, oh my gosh, like almost at a point of like, maybe I should just kind of like give up on this. Like maybe I should really just like focus on other areas of my life right now and just like table my health and fitness, because at the end of the day, it's at least, like I already got through, if my hormones and my, weight comes back and my hormones go to crap again, it's like, at least I know how to fix it now. And it's like, I honestly had these thoughts like heading that direction. And that's where, I talked with my mindset coach a little bit too, and like pulled it back, like, wait a second, hold on. Let me look at these thoughts I'm having here. Obviously, that's not actually what I want to happen, but it's funny because my brain is going in that direction of like, okay, we don't have a clear goal right now. Let's just recreate the same circumstances and we can just achieve the same goal again, and that'll feel really good. You know how to do that now, but that's not what I want for myself. So what I really took away from that kind of realization and what I wanted to share with everybody is the importance of making sure you always have a very clear, specific goal you're working towards, and a goal that feels important to you. Not a goal that like you just aimlessly chose because maybe you like saw, somebody on Instagram was running a marathon. You're like, cool, I can run a marathon. Like maybe that'll be my goal, but you actually don't really want to. But like, if that's a goal that you have and that feels good to you, then having that kind of clear goal is what's going to allow you to do the things you need to do day in and day out. Like for my example of like, which I'm working on getting very clear on what my goal is going to be. I'm working on that with my health and fitness coach as well. Coaches need coaches too. Getting clear on what my goal is going to be right now for this phase of my journey. And that way, if the actions I need to take to reach that goal are, even on the busiest days of work, like pulling out the walking pad and making sure I just get like 5 minutes of steps in between calls, like that's better than nothing. And even though that's uncomfortable to do, even though it feels inconvenient to do, I can still get myself to take that action because my brain knows what we're working towards and it knows that that's important to me and it knows why it's important to me.
Yeah. And if I could add something too to that I think you probably gloss over a little bit, but it's the importance of having other people, other parties that are not in it day to day, give you their perspective on things. Yep. Because if you were to just not have anybody on your corner, you'd be like, you know what, screw it. Maybe I am going to table my health, or maybe I am going to start over, right? But it's the importance of having somebody else that can be like, hey, I'm noticing X, Y, Z right here. Like, are you sure you want to do that? Because, we can also do this plan, or we can also do this, or on the days, like I said earlier, everybody has the same 24 hours. And I get it. Some people are busier than others. I completely understand that. But it's doing the little things, right? Like if anything, like you said, if you have a walking pad, take it out for 10, 15 minutes. 10, 15 minutes is better than no minutes at all. Or drink half a gallon of water. Half a gallon is better than no water at all, right? So it's the little things like that if you have the support, if you have the people around you that can continue to help you push forward, at the end of the day, in 6 months and a year, time's going to pass either way, right? So we might as well make 10% progress than 0% progress. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I hope that, maybe like our little kind of reflections here, our rambles, our insights are helpful for somebody out there. If they are, please let me know. It always is helpful for me when I know what is resonating with you guys, what's hitting, what's helpful, what's not. So shoot me a message. Best place to reach me is on Instagram if you want to shoot me a DM there. But if there's even any like specific parts of your journey that you're like, man, this is something that I'm really struggling with. This is where I feel really stuck. Bring that to me because I'm always happy to help you guys out one-on-one as needed. And then other times, like those might be inspiration for a future podcast episode, which could help somebody else out too. So it's not just you sharing for yourself. You are, helping us reach more people and share things that are going to be more relevant for more people and ultimately, helping women achieve their goals too. So
for sure.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with another great episode.
Bye, you guys.